Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Bando class star yacht. This was a favorite ship of the rich youngsters. It also had the ability to easily be modified. The ship was sometimes used by smugglers as well. Um, so, going through the history here that we have on Wikipedia, this is a sporting yacht. The ship was mostly used by pleasure or as a pleasure vehicle by the affluent beings. Bandos were not beloved by most bulk freighter pilots who disliked being passed on the space lanes. The ship itself was described as having a resemblance to some sea creatures. Bando class yachts were equipped with a powerful sublight drive for good speed in normal space. The single laser cannon on the standard version of the yacht was not only installed for looks, several precise hits could make pirates change their minds. Merrick's Turek Pulsar Skate was a highly modified Bandu class star yacht and currently the most famous ship of this type. The Bandu class yacht was produced by the shipyards owned by Mendel Bandu, um, and each ship was custom built for the specifications of its owner. This meant that each ship was unique in some way from the others, although the underlying drive system remained common between all of them. Because these ships were not exceptionally fast or complicated, the Bando class yacht found a following among amateur and experienced pilots. However, purchasing one of these ships required that a customer be referred to Mandel Bandu by another being who had purchased one. Since Bandu refused to take orders without a reference, Bandu or build time could take as much as a standard year, depending on the amount of customization. Because Mandel Bandu personally ensured that each ship was perfect. Now, behind the scenes, two contrasting versions of the Bandu class star yacht appeared to exist in canon. Probably the better known version of the design for the Pulsar Skate in the Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron comics and Star Wars customizable card game, first appearing in Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron The Phantom Affair in '96. However, the earlier illustration of the Galaxy Guide 6 Tramp Freighters supplemented for Star Wars the role-playing game, which was used as a silhouette in Pirates and Privateers, which is where I remember this ship the most. Uh, show a flatter and smoother starship that seemed to have served as the basis for the description of the vessel in the X-Wing novels. And recently, in Legacy of the Force Exile, no canonical explanation has offered to resolve the discrepancy. Um, the Moldy Crow was originally going to be a Bando class star yacht. So looking here, we have the Pulsar Skate. Now this is going to come from the X-Wing comics, um, as it's listed here on Wikipedia. When we're talking about which one came first in '96. Now the fact that it came from, let's see, the Pulsar Skate Star Wars X-Wing looks. When we have the novelization, and I'm kind of going here, just trying to make sure I'm getting this as correct as I can. Okay, so when Lucas Arts had the rights, they always had kind of told the writers to go see West End Games to try and make sure that everything kind of flowed together. West End Games was actually coming up with a good chart of things where things had been and all that. Um, so if the novel came out before '96, I would say that whatever the novel had would be more accurate. Now the problem is with a lot of the novels, we get a word version of it, but we don't get a picture version. West End Games was really good for trying to come up with backstory and put it into a reference guide for a couple different series. Sometimes they would have a guide that would span a couple different novels. So, I, you know, I would rather refer to whatever West End Games had come out with it as being what was meant. The hardest part is, when we get into that transition, when West End Games folded, and now you have Wizards of the Coast take over, and now it's being done by, um, oh, crumpets. I can't think of who it is now. Um, but we have another company that's doing really well with it, and they even relaunched the original copy of West End Games D6 Star Wars, giving homage to all that was, or all that had really come before it. And West End Games doesn't exist anymore, so I mean, for them to do it, it doesn't really take all that much for them. They don't have to worry about royalties or copyright infringement or so on and so forth. Um, so when we get to that point, here we are. Sources, we have tramp freighters, and pirates and privateers. So I do have these. And then we have official Star Wars fact files, and we have 76, 108, 126, Starships of the Galaxy Saga Edition, which is from Wizards of the Coast, the Complete Star Wars Encyclopedia, Fly Casual, and Desperate Allies, which I don't know who those are from myself. Um, all right, so looking over here at what we have for stats in the West End Games books. So this is taken directly out of Pirates and Privateers. This is a Star Yacht, Starfighter scale. It is 32 meters in length. Only requires a crew of one. Can have up to 8 passengers. Can carry 35 metric tons. Now, keep in mind this is more for pleasure than it is for cargo, as was noted in the write-up in Wikipedia, saying that, yeah, it could be used as a smuggling vessel or a trading vessel, but for the most part, most traders didn't. 35 metric tons is not a lot of cargo compared to when you look at the Millennium Falcon or the YT 1300 series in general. They're carrying 100 metric tons. We do have 1 month worth of consumables on board. The cost, I mean, if you buy this brand new, it's 400,000 credits brand new, 250,000 used. We have a hyperdrive of times 2, a backup of times 7, which is really respectable. We really can't knock that. We do have a nav computer. Maneuverability is 1D, so it is a little on the not so maneuverable side, but there again, it is also a bigger ship. It's a yacht. It's not meant for doing a lot of high-speed banking and all that stuff. Space is a 10. That is actually really respectable. So there are some starfighters out there you will be able to outrun. Atmosphere, we can go 1,200 kilometers an hour. Hull-wise, it is a 2D, so it is what I would consider our base hull stat. Not saying it's bad, it's just our base. Shields is a 1D, so again, 2 is in the D6. 2 is pretty much your standard when you're looking at NPCs or whatever. Everyone's going to have a D rating of 2D. Our shields is less than that. It is still something there to help protect you because it's not meant for combat. It's not, it's just a pleasure vehicle to try and help keep you safe. That's also going to be your deflector dish as well as your shield itself. So it's not bad. Our sensor packet, we can scan out to, or passively scan out to 1 kilometer, actively scan for 2.5 kilometers. We have a search of 4 kilometers and a focus of 200 meters. And we do have 1 laser cannon. It's not the most powerful. It is something to just say, hey, I am armed, so please stay away. It has a fire control of 2D, which is, reasonable, but only a damage of 2D. So in that regard, to me, that's not the most powerful laser cannon out there. Maybe if you can get it to a medium or a heavy laser cannon, that might help out, but it just kind of is what it is. All right, one of the other nice things about this, besides having a kind of top-down view and a side view, is someone had gone through in the role playing game and gave us a nice diagram of this ship. So we do have a cockpit that can have four plus a droid sitting in here. There is an emergency exit. So the question is, when we look at that, is that going to be now on the bottom, or is that going to be on the top? That's also going to be for your coupling, so that could very well be on the bottom. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so we have our cockpit ventral airlock. So please bear with me. Ventral, I think that's the top here. I think I do get confused on that, so you know I do apologize if I have it wrong. We do have an auto chef for the crew. Um, it's funny because I've watched videos on YouTube for different ships, and when they talk about some small yachts, um, they do have areas on some of these ships where you have the crew and they can take care of everything they need to take care of, and then you have the passengers, and then they're separated from everything else. So they can just sit there, lounge around, party, do whatever they're going to do, and the crew is actually taking care of its own day to day life. And even though in this case, we do have a door sitting here, and quite often it is something like a door, there's like a door or whatever, they may separate themselves just enough that they don't really interact with each other all that much. Okay, we do have our crew hygiene. So we have a sonic shower, regular shower, however you want to look at it. We have our toilet and our sink. We do have a crew bunk, port and starboard side. There's a crew ramp here. We have passenger hygiene. So while the crew gets a little shower, they can get a bathtub. They can have a little bit more room. They have a passenger galley, which has got an auto chef, but room to kind of do things on their own. Then there's the crew ramp here in the middle. And then we have passenger suites. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then a passenger lounge over here and a pool. Because it's a yacht, it's meant for them to be able to sit back, relax, and everything else. So it is really more for the rich people. I don't know if we have the droid in here. It's just as a indication of there something being there, or if it's actually kind of meant to have a droid, like a kind of like a butler droid, or in a way or whatever, but as a mechanic, having a astromech droid, astrogation mechanical droid. So if something does go awry, they can hopefully fix it. It would make some sense in that regard. Uh, we have free liberty to be able to say one way or the other. But it is an interesting ship. It is a very expensive ship, and it looks like it could have some fun and excitement in that. Um, to bring it into Star Wars, it doesn't mean that your characters couldn't be down on their luck, and maybe they're hired as um, a pilot and crew to manage a ship like this for some wealthy individual. And then there's adventures that ensue along with it. So it is wonderful seeing ships like this where it's something that was mentioned in a novel, and then we go through, and then it's been laid out so that way we get to see the interior designs, the reason why things look the way they do. It really brings everything to light and gives it a more home feeling of something that's organic. At least in my mind, I always enjoy having maps of ships because then you can kind of explain things to whoever you're running around with in a role-playing game, and that. So another wonderful ship to be able to bring to light and be able to present to you. Hope you enjoyed this series. I enjoy bringing it to you every day. We'll see you in the next video.